Yeah, I hope I'm audible and visible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Um, so let us start. Law today offers more career paths than ever before. Yet there is one question that continues to matter. That is, what do recruiters actually look for when they decide whom to hire? A very good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this session by Manupatra Academy. Um, This webinar is designed to help you understand how hiring decisions are made across law firm, in-house teams, and emerging legal roles, and how you can start and how you can prepare yourself with the right skills and mindset for a changing legal market. We are happy to have with us an experienced panel today, and I would like to warmly welcome the three of you. Ms. Deepika Kinhal. Deepika is the co-founder and CEO of COD, working at the intersection of law, technology, and dispute resolution. She brings deep experience from policy, legal tech, and system design, and focus on how legal institutions and talent need to evolve in practice. Ms. Khushbu Luthra. Khushbu is a legal industry insider with 17 years of experience across law, policy, and management. An MBA and LLB graduate, she has worked with FICCI, Amarchand Mangaldas, Singhania and Partners, and has served as Chief Strategy Officer at a law firm. She later became a personal branding strategist for senior legal professionals as well. And today she joins us in the capacity of Senior VP Professional Services Talent Solution at First Meridian Global, one of India's leading HR management and solution companies. Um, and Mr. Anshuman Vikram Singh. Anshuman is a partner at AZB and Partner. He specializes in M&A and PEVC and general corporate advisory. He regularly works with young associates and bring a practical view of what law firms expect from early career lawyers. Today, our panelists will share their real experiences from hiring, working with young lawyers, and building legal careers to help you understand what matters, what to focus on, and how to move forward with clarity. So, with that, let's get started with today's webinar.
Uh, Thank you, Samiksha, for kickstarting this. Good evening, everyone. I am Priyanka. I'm the CEO at Manupatra and happy to be moderating this session today. Thank you to the panelists for making the time for this session, and thank you for everyone who's joining us today and will continue to troop in. Our goal is simple today, that all of you go back with more clarity than what you have walked in with. And to achieve that, let's get started. To begin with, let's just talk about the big picture, because many students feel very overwhelmed with where to start, how to start, and possibly by the sheer number of options which are there. So my first question will be to Anshuman. However, I request the panelists to add their inputs, even when the question is not directed to them, so that we have a more complete response. So, Anshuman, the first question that I would want to begin with is that, what guidance would you give law students who are trying to figure out their early career choices, and how should they go about it, and how can they discover that, what really interests them, and especially when, you have so many options available today?
Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you for inviting, first of all. It's a pleasure to be one of the panelists and share some experiences to young lawyers and to be lawyers who will come and join the legal fraternity. And first of all, this session itself is going to help them. I don't know to what extent, but I'm sure it will definitely add a value add to their overall search for their careers and for their careers and in future job hunt or professional achievement as well, both for internships or otherwise. To respond to your question, first of all, see, there are many sectors that are always available at all points of time in terms of growing practices. From uh, being a lawyer, there's always one practice which leads and which is seasonal in nature. So there's no one fit criteria for, first of all, a practice which always works out. So for us as lawyers and as well as for students, it's very important to have the basic fundamental skills, which uh, at cost of repeating, maybe they must have heard it a number of times. They're very fundamental. There are few fundamental points which always works at any practice, for which people keep forgetting about. Maybe they think that this is so fundamental that they can overlook it. But trust me when I say that it's very important to have few fundamental points, which I'll just reiterate now. You need to have a very good research skills at all points of time, because irrespective of which area of practice you will end up working, maybe 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years down the line, or in and apart from the practice, if you are in an NGO sort of a practice or a legal tech, in all of those scenarios, you need to have very good research skills. So that's first point that we all of the lawyers as well as law students should definitely work upon. Second is the way we draft certain things. Maybe the law schools do not have that kind of expertise, or maybe they don't focus on these subjects. But this is as fundamental as it can be, that you need to have very good drafting skills. The subjects which are generally being referred to in law school courses are very superficial, to say it. So we definitely need to have a very good drafting skills, and that will definitely come when you write a lot of articles. So that's second point we should definitely focus on. So research and drafting. So if you are good lawyer, you need to have these fundamental points working for you at all points of time. So that becomes your base. Using that as a base, we always have to look for what works for you. Sometimes some sectors or some practices sound uh, fancy for a time being. They think that because uh, these kind of lawyers or this kind of practice will always give you more visibility as compared to other practices. So, and we may end up choosing those practice areas. So that's something I think we should not, how we should look at any practice. First of all, uh, what may work for me may not work for you, and I may not have an aptitude for that. So it's very important that we, as an early like in a scenario where you're looking for a job, or in a scenario where you're looking to create a practice for your own, we should definitely have a very defined path on which practice area we are focusing on. Maybe an aptitude for that subject matter should come on, because some may be a very good M&A lawyer, but may not be a very good IBC lawyer, or vice versa. So you definitely have to pick your subject matter, which gives you which interests you the most in, and then we can do that in law school as well. People don't do that as part of internships. We reach out to multiple, even in tier one law firms, and we send emails out to everyone who's there. But we forget that one of the fundamental points in all of this is that we need to identify our core interest area, and then identify lawyers who are working in that sector, and then reach out. So it should not be basis on the availability or visibility of some kind of transactions or practice, rather than your interest area, and then reach out to your to people who are working in that sector, and gain practical knowledge, and not just for the purposes of because it sounds fancy.
Perfect. Uh, Deepika, maybe I can ask you this as a follow-up question, that would you say that specialization early is a good idea, or should students keep, their options open and look at yeah, I
Right.
think, and you also wanted to add, I just saw your hand.
Yeah, yeah. Let me lower that first. Um, I think the question you asked of me flows beautifully from where Anshuman left. What I wanted to add to everything that Anshuman stated was, I think, having a very practical outlook at the time of graduating from law school is very important. That is at least how I have taken my career decisions. And through the course of these conversations, you will see that I have shifted quite a bit over the last 12 years post graduation. And whenever I have made the shift, or whenever I have made a choice, a big component of the factor was financial. And I think that is something that the students should not lose sight of. As Anshuman said, there will be a lot of options that are always going to be available given the nature of the field itself. Legal field is vast, right? There are plenty of roles that have always existed, and they are only going to increase with the kind of innovations that we are seeing coming into law firms, coming into traditional litigation practice, and the mushrooming of legal tech enterprises itself. So while the roles and options available are always going to be vast, and I will tell you why I don't think scaremongering regarding options that are available for graduates is going to hold any water. But then the limited point I want to make is whenever you're making a choice, be mindful of what the financial constraints are and what your requirements are at that stage in life. To give my own personal anecdote, right? Right after graduation, for me, the biggest factor was that I need to pay back my education loan. So even though I was not really interested in corporate law, I did make a choice to join one of the biggest law firms in India. Thankfully, my CGPA allowed me to do that. And with a year and a bit in that position, I was able to fulfill my financial commitments, which gave me the luxury of choice then. So that is one, advice as now a senior in the profession that I would like to give. First, secure your finances, and then you're free to experiment. I think it'll just give you that peace of mind to explore a lot more than otherwise. Of course, there are people who want to start out with causes that they are passionate about, which may not be very well paying in the initial few years. Those are conscious decisions that students will have to make. But overall, I think you will have to chalk out uh, passion plus financial paybacks that you will get based on what you choose and how you want to see yourself maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line in your career. So I think a combination of that should help you navigate as you go along with the plethora of choices that are there. Now, coming to the question you directly asked of me, which is whether one wants to choose upfront any particular career, particular path within the vast legal field that exists. That truly depends, again, as Anshuman said, your own, set of capabilities, as well as what ecosystem that you find yourself to be a part of, right? And depending on the background that you have, that plays a huge factor in your ability to choose and stick to a particular path, right? If you come from a generation of lawyers, you have a solid family background in law, then the kind of choices you make will be very different from a first generation lawyer. So I wouldn't say there is a very specific or a unilateral way of deciding things for these hard questions. One has to really put their life in a framework and see what makes sense to them at that stage in their career. Given my own journey, for me, I think the specialization or the lack of it evolved fairly organically. I started with a corporate law career, then I was into litigation, then I was into policy. Now I'm a full-time legal technology entrepreneur. If you ask me to draw a clean line, I can do that because I am fairly creative that way. But it's not, right? With each choice, life took me, the career paths took me in very different directions. But I see that where I am today is a culmination of everything that I've done so far. So I think, unfortunately, I cannot give a very straight cut formulaic answer, but you can, for your own individual situation, definitely draw a framework and prioritize what matters to you the most.
Yeah, I think what both of you said was that, of course, one size does not fit all, and every individual will need to look at, what their interest areas are, delve deeper into that, and of course, look at where they stand, what their immediate priorities are. And so I think when we talk about careers, one thing which is talked about a lot is that, how many internships, do your internships. So, Khushbu, my question to you would be that, how can students make so internships are important. We are not obviously talking about that. We're not discussing that, but how can students make their internship stint more effective and meaningful?
Okay. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you for having me here. And to answer your questions about internships, I will start with saying yes, of course, it is very important. And the more and more we are seeing in the hiring trends now that even for the A0s, the freshers, firms prefer candidates who have done the internship in the chosen practice area. For instance, like we received the list of mandates, especially from tier one firms, and they're hiring for A0s. They ask that we prefer the candidate who has done 4 internships in corporates out of 5 or 6 mandated during their 5-year law school program. But at the same time, I feel it is a double-edged sword because there are organizations. See, everyone does not make to tier one firms. There is a limited capacity vacancy there as well. But when you are looking at the smaller firms, they expect which is again the SME, I would call them SME of Indian legal industry. They prefer candidates who have done a mix of internships, and I recommend students that you should do all kinds of internship. If you are a second generation lawyer or you've seen lawyers closely in your friends and family, then you can maybe make your mind beforehand that I want to do corporate, or I want to do disputes or IPR, or I want to move to practice management. But it is very important that you explore during this period and do internships in different practice areas to understand where your interests, strengths, and where you enjoy the most. Yes, of course, as Deepika pointed out, that money is important, financials are important, and some law schools, they are like very expensive, and the loans are to be paid off. But at the same time, I also see that some of these students, they end up burning out and they start hating the profession altogether if they are forcefully asked to do practice in the one same practice area only. And of course, to make most out of your internship, it is very important that you follow the office decorum, understand their culture, and the kind of competition that we are seeing in India right now. It is very important that during those 5 6 internships, try to leave a mark so that you are able to convert at least one of them into a pre-placement offer. And we see that happening. We see that happening often, that the route to get your first job through internship is a better job is much more probable through the internship. And use that time to develop your network within the firm, with your seniors, with the partners who are working there. Try to get noticed for your good work. Do not grab the headlines for the wrong reasons, but try to get noticed and focus on your work.
Exactly, Kushbu, you've answered my next question, which was going to be that, how can students build careers without relying solely on college placements or the institutional backgrounds? So I think everything that you listed also goes to kind of answer that. But if Anjuman and Deepika would want to add something to that, I mean, instead of just relying that, the college placement is going to do it for us.
So, Deepika, if you want, you can go ahead. I have a very small point to make. Maybe you can pick up after that.
Sure, please go ahead.
So, I think Pushpa has made it very clear that internships are very important. And I just want to add one point, that we should treat internship as in like the students who are there. Internships as a soft launch to a particular industry or particular practice, because that helps you to understand what all happens when you enter into a particular practice. Because maybe an M&A practice is completely different from a debt practice, or maybe you are looking for a real estate related practice. So different practices in itself, maybe it's a one firm under various heads or under various practices. They could be different teams which may work differently, but the particular practice demands different kind of hours, different kind of long hours, and then different sort of skills also as well. Maybe treat those internships and then maybe try to do internships in these firms in various practices, like as much as you can within your 5 years of law school, to understand what kind of practice and which sector interests you more as compared to the other, specifically in terms of equity slash debt slash renewables. So you need to figure out your niche from that understanding, because unless and until you don't do that, you won't be able to maximize the opportunity that these internships provides on a long-term basis. Deepa, please go ahead.
Just to add to that, I think with internships, the philosophy is the more you give, the more you get. Um, I have seen students who come in with a lot of passion and intention to absorb like sponges, right? Everything that the institution has to offer. And we as an institution, not just us, and I know this is an industry-wide practice, we maintain a list of our good interns. Whenever we are looking to hire, our first resort is to go back to that list and contact those people to see if they are available. Right. So, as Anshuman rightly stated, even Khushbu was stating the same thing, that these internships are your opportunity to get embedded in those sectors, in those institutions, if that is of interest to you as well. Having said that, even if an intern figures midway or whenever through the course of that internship that this is not something that is to their liking, or that is not what they have been looking for, yeah, be it the sector itself or that particular institution, I would say you still need to grit through that entire period and show up. Why is that important? Because it is at the end of the day a small world, right? We at the leadership level at least keep speaking to each other. And one of the key things that we do is at the stage of hiring, look through who you have interned with in the past. And if we happen to be connected with maybe the partner, with the HR person in that particular institution, we give a quick call to check how the person fared during that tenure, during the internship period. Um, and that is the reason why every single internship matters, either directly or indirectly. And at the end of the day, interns should also realize that they are there, which means a few others have not been able to make it to that position, right? So I think they owe it to themselves to take their internships seriously.
I think two words. One, definitely, I think uh, Khushbu explained it very well, and Anshuman summed it up by saying the soft launch. I think that's how you need to be treating your internships, and it's a small world. I think I say this to anyone and everyone whom I meet, that it's a small world. Just build bridges, don't burn them. So, with this, Anshuman, given your current coordinates, the next question to you would be that what are law firms looking for when they are shortlisting and evaluating candidates to hire? You did mention about the skills of legal research and drafting, but what are the other skills, experiences, or even personality traits, for that matter, which possibly makes the hirer think that yes, this person has potential? So, what would those
Sure.
be from a very specific law firm point of view?
Yeah, definitely. I think I have been on the side of the table, both sides of the table, where I was being interviewed in my initial stages of life as a professional, and for the past few years have been on the side where I'm interviewing candidates and understanding what kind of skills that they are and whether they are suitable for the position or not, which we are looking for. So some of the skills that I at least, and then again, different kind of skills are required for different stage of hirings. But given that the forum is only for young lawyers, I'll focus my response to that kind of hiring, specifically the E0 and E1s. Uh, so having said that, already mentioned earlier that definitely the drafting skill is definitely there, and the research skills, and which comes up specifically in your CVs when you see that the person has done a lot of publications. That's one way of identifying, because unless and until your drafting is good or your research skills are good, you will not be able to produce something which is worth publish by relevant journals wherever. And then you also analyze what kind of journals you have interacted with, what kind of subject matters that you have dealt. And if I'm hiring from an M&A PVC perspective, have you done something specifically on the subject matter itself, like companies law, FEMA, SEBI, something related to takeover, anything. So we try to categorize those kind of students which or they have already exposed to these kind of subject matters specifically. So that's one sort of filter that we usually apply. And after that, we also see that if they have done any PVC practices or general corporate practices, and which kind of teams that they have dealt with before reaching to us as a for their respective jobs. So those kind of first filters which helps us navigate that these are the probable candidates. And once we sit across the table to interview, definitely check the fundamentals of law, which definitely it's very basic, but sometimes students don't even know what is the gap and what is the difference between a private company and a public company. So those kind of fundamental points you need to be aware. You need to be aware what does your basic law talks about. Like if you're going in a practice which ends up on a day-to-day basis deals with provisions of Companies Act, and you don't know what is the difference between a public company and a private company, that just shows that you're only there for a job and you don't have the interest in the subject matter. So you need to prepare yourself. Prepare yourself from a subject matter perspective. That's something the student should do. Read about the kind of transactions that the person has done. So so that you know that there could be maybe sector agnostic questions which may come up. And having considered all of this, then we also end up seeing what kind of work ethics that you have. Because if you and again, it also links back to the internships that we've been talking so far, that if the person has been associated with the firm, that he and she will be aware that this particular practice or this particular person or the team specifically work long hours. So I know that he has performed and she has performed consistently under pressure. So that's also because, for better or worse, it is what it is. Law firms tend to work for longer hours in a very tough conditions, in a manner where sometimes it's very nerve wracking. So you need to show that you have a tendency to working under pressure consistently on a day-to-day basis. And then one of the things which again it comes with a passage of time, but the kind of uh, approach towards work, like you need to have a very ownership sort of an approach towards when you work in law firm. You need to own to what you are producing, what you are servicing to the client. So for that, we need to show, at least the student should show that they are able to take a lead on a subject matter, let's say on a deliverable which is needed, on a research item that is needed. Because from law school to a law firm, there is a huge difference. We in law schools, we read subjects from an academic perspective. We analyze and we see that there could be yes or a no for a particular situation. But when a client reaches out to you, they are not looking for an academic approach or academic understanding what is ought to be law. You need to serve what they need. So from that perspective, it's a shock for most of the students that we have learned something in a different way, but the job requires you to act in a certain manner. So you need to know how to act on a particular deliverable. So again, those are something which is something is not taught in law schools. So you need to have exposure through internships, and internships helps you give that kind of exposure, that there's a lot of diligence which goes on. There's a lot of drafting on a DD reports or a memo which needs to be drafted for a client. So those are some few things students can talk and get ownership on. So definitely we see that there is an ownership mindset in a probable candidate. And then the soft skills, as long as you are able to communicate, because sometimes there's a lot of content on a CV. It shows that you've done everything on which is there to be done, like moot courts, internships, you have done seminars, conferences, debates, parliamentary debates, everything. You've done leadership positions, this, that, everything. But if you're not able to communicate all of that in a very succinct manner, then communicate that you've done this and that in a detailed manner, that clarifies that it's not something which is to be done or you are compensating for being visible. You have done that with an intention to learn something out of it. So our way of communication is equally important. Your way of how you speak and how you communicate is equally important. And similarly, professionalism. Sometimes students are there. They are not. Their code of conduct is not accurate. You you're not dressed properly, or you're not. Your tie, your conduct is not good. So you need to be professional about the way you present, the way you speak, and the way you deal with your seniors. So, and then the last of it, because law firm job is not an individualistic job, you need to have, at least from an HR perspective, which I think is equally important, you need to be a team fit. So, and again, that also comes from internships, because as long as you work with a particular team, you know that how what kind of people they and how they perform, how they function within the system. And if you have worked with that particular team, it just helps you know them better. And maybe once if you're hired in that particular team, then yes, it just gives you that soft platform that you can just go ahead from this point onwards. And you know that there's very limited things which will move, and you will be able to fit within the team very quickly, which is equally important for early adaptation into a particular team. Yeah, I
Wow,
think
I think that kind of
that's
sums
something.
up, yes, that kind of also sums up, what the traditional roles might be looking for. Let's talk a little bit about the non-traditional roles. And, we are seeing that careers today more and more are not linear. And many of you have taken unconventional paths as well. Kushbu, how do you view candidates who have non-traditional or non-linear career paths, such as legal tech, policy, startups,
Okay.
NGOs? Yeah.
Okay, I see an increasing trend from the freshers and those who have practiced for 2, 3 years. They come and say that I want to do something in legal tech. I want to move on the practice development. I think I am very good with people. I would like to make my career in HR. And of course, recently I received a CV. This girl is a Nalsar graduate, Nalsar, Hyderabad, and she wants to work in the policy area. And she said that get me a job in an industry chamber such as FICCI, CII, and ASSOCHAMs and the likes. So I was curious to know, because at times when you take these names in front of the young students, not 10, 15 years experienced professional, they are like, what is FICCI? What is CII? They don't know. But she was very well aware, and she said, no, I'm very clear. I want to go into the policy domain. And coincidentally, she was working with a tier 1 firm, drawing a very good package. And I told her, boss, you won't get this kind of money there. She said, I'm okay, but I know that is my calling. That is why I want to go there. So that is how clear the students are these days, which we were not when we were in their age. And the good news is that there is many good opportunities for students. Uh, 2011-12, when I started my career on the practice development side in the law firms, these roles were unheard of, and people used to say, ये लोग cost center होते हैं, करते ही क्या हैं. But today, when we are sitting as recruiters and we do hiring also, we see that the practice development professionals, HR heads, chief business officers, the law firms across the tiers, they prefer those who have studied law as well. One, they prefer those who have studied law, be it in the position of the marketing head or HR head, strategy head, legal tech positions. And at the same time, they are offered good salaries, which is commensurate to uh, the linear path that most of the students take. So my 2 cents here is that, go with what you like. And good communication skills is very important uh, uh, in any firm, because see, it's a chicken and an egg story. Students say, we if you tell them the name of a firm which they haven't heard, do they have a website? Oh, they don't even have a website. I don't want to work there. Because there are firms in India which still don't have a website. So they want to work with brands. They want to go to the firm which have good offices. And if you want to, which have fancy offices, but if you want to go and work there, then you are also expected that you have a good personality, you have good communication skills, you maintain a good personal hygiene, you look presentable. So either you are in an HR role or you are in a BD role where you are, distributing your cards in the conferences. You need to look good so that people feel like talking to you. And if again you are in an HR role in a law firm, again you have to be presentable. With you should be an effective communicator so that, and you should be approachable. Same goes for the client. So the basic skills, the fundamental skills across the roles, linear or non-linear, remain the same.
True.
But uh, do not overlook the practice of law, because my personal experience of having worked with law firms is that uh, even if you are not a practicing lawyer, where a non-lawyer in a BD, HR, finance role makes a mark, stands out from a lawyer, is that they are they are well read, they understand what their firm is doing, and when you speak to people, you are able to make that difference. That this person is not talking in the air, but his or her fundamentals are strong, so they understand what they are talking. And so the if your calling is HR management or legal tech or marketing and communications, but and you enjoy Canva more than doing research, then there is very good opportunity for you today. And I'll say follow your heart and excel in that.
So, what are some new and emerging roles that you would like to share with the audience today? I mean, this is to the three of you. I mean, we're
Okay,
talking about
so
non-traditional roles. Yeah. Few you just shared. I mean, but if you could just kind of put it together for the audience.
there are opportunities in legal tech. There is opportunity in regulatory tech. Abhi, right now, there is just labor codes. Everybody's talking about labor codes, and there are going to be softwares around that to manage the compliances around new labor codes. Then DPDP Act is coming up, which is again, it is the compliance requirements in labor codes and in DPDP codes. They are very similar. So firms need legal and compliance strategists. Organizations need legal plus compliance strategist who can devise a plan, who can devise a tech which covers both the areas. Where they are able to manage both the things on a single software. This is one example. Similarly, the compliance environment today is very strong. You look at the companies like Teamlease, RegTech. You look at companies, this Lex Logic is there, and there are many other legal affinity. I think is one of them. Your own company, Manu Comply. You also have
True.
your Manu Comply is a compliance software again. So all these, the students, they want to go into the compliance field. There are opportunities as chief compliance officer. So the organizations prefer having a chief compliance officer who is so good with compliances that the legal risk, enterprise risk is reduced. There are emerging practice areas which are at the intersection of law and technologies, AI regulation, deep tech, cyber security, and there are many opportunities now that we are always talking about, global capability centers in our country. So you name the companies, the accounting firms, the big four to companies such as BDO, Alvarez Marshall, then Clifford Chance has a business center in India. Then there is this law firm Miscon area. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. They are big time into GCCs. They are looking at setting up their GCCs in India. The Global Capability Center, I would say they are the evolved versions what BPOs used to be earlier. And the people are not making calls, they are not doing data entry, but they are doing analysis, because the basic data entry is now being automated. Humans are not required to do that. So yes, today's law graduates like require systems thinking plus management thinking, plus effective communication skills. So it is not just research, because different streams, the ecosystem of a legal industry person in any of the roles, be it in corporate or be it in a law firm or in a compliance role within HR company, I would say all of them require the basic knowledge of law is going to help you, and any add-on qualification will help you further in strengthening your position in managing the legal practice.
Deepika and Anjuman, would you want to add to the new roles which
I don't
students
think
would
I
look at?
can
Maybe, please
claim
go
to
ahead.
be in terms of, I think, the breadth that Khushbu has covered, I can't claim to be half as
Yeah.
knowledgeable. But in terms of, again, going back to some of the things that I would pay attention to, is the sector that I want to be a part of, and the role that I want to play. As Khushbu rightly pointed out, as a law graduate, you are maybe valued more for your skills that, rather than the knowledge. And it is up to you where you want to deploy those skills. There are softer skills, right? Like problem solving, analytical skills, of course, communication, how you present yourself, all of that. And then there are more domain specific skills, as Anshuman was pointing out, which is research, drafting, then domain specific knowledge itself. If it is looking at the former set of skill sets, those are something that you can package and put to use in any sector. And what we are seeing with emerging, industries within the vast legal arena, be it legal technology or more services oriented, smaller institutions that are coming up which support legal tech firms or even law firms, we are looking at hiring fresh graduates, fresh law graduates, but who can actually augment the lawyers who are already part of my institution. To give you an example, right? When I build a legal technology tool or a service layer, for my BD, I actually want a law graduate because they will be the bridge between my clients and me as a company, because they will be able to speak the language of my clients, that are judiciary, in legal institutions and lawyers themselves. And given that they have these skill sets, that is analytical thinking, problem solving, all of that, they can relay the information from the field back to me, right? So having that layer that acts as a bridge, which also has the domain expertise, is what is extremely valuable today. So I would say it is a good place to be today for a law graduate, because they have so many choices in terms of these newer roles that are cropping up for them, where their legal knowledge is valued, but they don't have to be a lawyer necessarily to put that to use.
And just maybe add one more point to this entire sort of inputs that Deepika and Khushbu has given. Within the system itself, when you have a domain expertise or when you have worked for a particular role, there are other non-lawyer roles, but where lawyer can actually equally can add value to the entire ecosystem of law firms. Where some certain law schools have also started offering law firm management as in an MBA in law firm management, which also equally is a very important role, because law firms in India has a certain way of acting or performing, evaluation of roles, evaluation of appraisals, evaluation of BD roles. So those are also some attached non-lawyer roles which people can also consider, because that's all very specific to Indian legal firm ecosystem. And the second thing, which also people can consider, that if you're good with your skills, communication and oratory skills, then maybe you can also work as a very good business development manager for law firms, because law firms do need to reach out to various kind of people across sectors, which maybe you're reaching out to an international client, you're reaching out to international lawyers, again for business development or different kind of people across the globe. So if you have those kind of inherent skills within yourself, then maybe that's also one of the few roles that you may consider, which are again important from law firm perspective, but you don't have to be a lawyer for that. for purposes. But if you are a qualified lawyer, if you are a lawyer, you know the tone and tonality of how to deal with those kind of people, because you may end up speaking with mostly on the lawyers and the clients on some similar platform. So maybe those few things which people can consider apart from non-linear roles in law firms.
So, while we're talking about roles and skills, what are the tech skills in particular that, especially the students should definitely have in their repertoire? Yeah, Deepika, you want to go?
Right. In terms of technology skills across board, Priyanka, I think there are fairly obvious ones. You need to be able to draft well with a digital first approach, right? You need to be able to synthesize information from multiple categories of documents now with the kind of tools that are available. I don't know if I'm putting a lot of burden on the associate. I have been out of law firm for quite a for a few years now, so I don't know how it works in that ecosystem anymore. But at least when I'm bringing in someone as part of my company today, or even previously when I was with the Center for Legal Policy, there the focus was on looking at people who can deploy the tools that are available in the market to make their job easier to whatever extent possible, because ultimately the easier you are able to handle your specific whatever tasks are assigned to you, the more you can take up as well, right? But if you're stuck with the kind of documents that are dumped on you and without any creative avenue or even commonsensical avenue of putting the tools that are available to use, then you will get stuck. So at least in the legal tech space, there are certain fundamentals that are non-negotiable. You need to know what are the technology tools available in the market and how you can customize it for your role. Uh, Again, to illustrate that with an example, may be better. Say, for instance, our case managers, right? For case managerial role, we hire lawyers. And then, in addition to their research and drafting skills, what becomes important is their communication skills. But in terms of their ability to assist with the administrative work that the institution like CORD has, which is an end-to-end online dispute resolution institution, right? So there is a lot of ingesting of documents. We have to digitalize documents that may be scanned versions of very old documents, not legible enough. We have to collate multiple kinds of information that comes our way across different categories of dispute. And there we expect people we hire to partner with us in innovation. How do we make the existing process most efficient that it can be, so that our the disputing parties derive maximum benefit from coming to us, as well as there is cost efficiency involved. So with at least the sector that I am now a part of, we even if someone is not already aware of everything that is out there, and some and lawyers are not, at least expected to take to coding, what we expect them to be is curious and have the ability to navigate and search the right fit for the problem that they currently have. So not necessary to have knowledge of all the technology that is out there, but you should be able to navigate your way to the right one.
And Anshuman, would you quickly want to add to that? Given that we have 10 minutes and we have lots of questions.
Oh, I think Deepika has given a very good summary of what we want to hear. But
Basically,
definitely,
being digital native is one thing that we are looking at.
definitely, because see, you must have seen a lot of noise about AI, artificial intelligence, and I see some of the questions are also focused about how we are looking at artificial intelligence being integrated in a law firm. Um, ASAP, again, being one of the tier one law firms, has also uh, keep looking at what kind of softwares which can be used, tools apart from like There have been a time where Manpatra, SCC Online, they have been always part of all the law firms, and thankfully the laws are being updated and people can quickly look at what are the new updates. But that's just one end of legal research. But now there's other kind of AI which is happening, and then people may have heard a lot about it. That there are new tools which are coming. Anthropic just released another tool just a few days back, and it just wiped off billions of dollars across the globe. Not just in India, Indian IIT sector also faces the same issues, and global companies as well. So definitely AI is going to be there. People have adopted. AZB has commonly integrated Harvey within the system. And there are other AI tools also apart from Harvey. There's Lucio and some other softwares as well. And then all of these big giants are coming up with legal tools, extensions, and all of that. So maybe next thing which the budding lawyers can do is to understand how AI works. Again, it's a tool and it needs to be used in that manner because again, it's a machine. It learns how the way you approach, how it also reads the tone and tonality of the question. And you may have also heard very many instances where people have submitted directly submissions copy pasted from these tools, and there are judgments which have been quoted which are non-existent, unfortunately. And this has happened not just in India, in US as well. People have just copy pasted whatever AI generated and submitted, and then later you found out that the law itself is non-existent and the cases are just uh, beautifully created by AI. So obviously we need to definitely know how to use the tool without fully being reliant on that AI will draft something which is definitely needed for client. Clients are not gonna uh, pay you top dollar for something which is generated off the shelf from any AI tool, because then they can just buy the tool itself and then we are redundant. The law firm industry and everyone else is just redundant that way because obviously they are quicker, faster, and whatever they do is not that bad though. So definitely we need to know how to use the tools rather than being fully reliant on those, and be very, very careful what they generate.
Right. Okay, so the three questions I definitely want to cover before we get into a quick rapid fire. Uh, any advice, first generation lawyers tend to think that they are disadvantaged. So any specific advice that you would want to give to the first generation lawyers? Any one of you who wants to take this one?
You need to have a lot of patience for sure.
Well said.
Yeah, I would like to add here that yes, if litigation is your calling and you are going to run the firm which your parent was running before, there is definitely shoes that you have to fit in. So it is, the grass is always greener on the other side. Having worked with some of the second generation lawyers who are like in their early 30s or late 20s, when you speak to them, you would understand the kind of pressure they feel because their parents have achieved something, and some of them are as good as their parent, but some are just forced into it because they have to manage the empire that parent has created. So it is not like that, and there are many opportunities for first generation lawyers today, and many of them are flourishing across the firms. Many have set up their own practices. I do not know about Deepika if she's a first generation lawyer or not, but look at her. She has created a business. She's an entrepreneur now. And
I am a
so
first generation lawyer.
yeah, you're, and I think I am also a first generation law graduate. I didn't get into the practice side, but I am happy the way my career is shaping. And you should enjoy what you're doing is very important. If you're
I
not
think
liking
that's,
it,
yeah.
yeah, if you're not liking it, even if you're making a 75 lakhs, but even a security guard is happier than you, then it is of no use.
So I think there's a lot of hope there for
But
all the
just
first
to add
generation
to that,
lawyers.
Priyanka,
Hmm.
I would advise, especially the first generation lawyers from non-NLU background, they may feel
Yeah.
particularly disadvantaged. And to them, I would like to say that they should start, right? Start somewhere, even if it is starting small. Uh, be willing to experiment. because that is the only way to test yourself and test what is the right fit for you out there in the market. But start.
Okay. And one question one has to discuss networking. So many jobs and opportunities, they come through networking. So quick advice on networking, whether it's a must do or must not do.
It's a must. And it's
Absolutely
not going to
must.
just happen for
Absolutely.
internship. I think
Yeah.
it helps in any practice, linear or non-linear.
Yeah.
Networking is a must, and it's a skill which can override many issues. If you are good with communication, if you're good with contacts, or someone who can actually generate leads from any sector, irrespective of the practice. Those are the actually typical lawyers. You may have heard that they are the rainmakers within our system. So, a good networking skills will actually may get you a lot of opportunities you couldn't have thought about. So, definitely, it's a must,
Uh, to add,
necessary skill.
uh, to add, networking is not limited to LinkedIn. Just sending connection requests is not
Correct.
equivalent to networking. So step out there, attend conferences, attend events, go and speak to the panelists. That is how you build your network, and familiarity always takes the first win.
Yeah, I would like to add here because I speak to, as a recruiter, I speak to a lot of uh, senior partners, equity partners in the tier one firms, and when you speak to the smaller firms. So typically, a tier one firm, an equity partner is looking to have salaried partners in their team who can help in the execution because they are good at networking and they are able to generate work. So they want people who can focus on delivering that work. But and of course there is a salary difference between the two tiers of these firms, but if not everybody makes to tier 1 firms, and there are opportunities in tier 2 firms, tier 3 firms, and the smaller boutique practices, there the expectation, if they are hiring an 8 to 10 years experienced lawyer, 6 years experienced lawyer, and if this person they are offering a salary of 30 lakhs per annum, there is somewhere a bit of a pressure and unsaid expectation that we expect you to generate business as well for the firm. So and this business generation does not happen overnight. It takes time. So your relationships that you have built in your internships or during the A0 to A5 years, the kind of impression you left on the people, the way the quality of your work spoke, and the kind of bridges you have built with them, it will all help you in generating business for your current law firm or the firm that you are working with. So networking is very, very important uh, 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 at every stage of your career. And I think the word networking is very transactional. We should call it invest in building relationships with people. So that is something very important.
Okay. Startups are the flavor. So Deepika and Khushbu, one advice, since both of you have been entrepreneurs, one advice that you would want to share with the young people today.
Would you like to
Um,
start,
Fun.
Deepika?
One advice, stay curious, I think, would be the short advice, because there is so much that is always happening. I, as a founder, someone who is in a leadership position, I wake up with 100 odd thoughts, right, on how I should invest my time and energy into. And I'm sure at a law graduate level, that is multifold, because you are exploring still what really to do with your life. I think if you can be curious about different sectors and not close out your options very early on, you will find the right fit.
Khushbu?
Yeah. One thing that, a quote that I thought of, like, this is my culmination of last 2 years of entrepreneurship, that people who say entrepreneurship is freedom, it is wrong. It is not freedom. It is a lot of responsibility. When people have trusted you with their reputation, with their work, they have delegated work to you, and there are people who are dependent on you for salaries and your own reputation and your professionalism. And second thing is that uh, you'll meet all sorts of people, and if you can't manage people, you are not building an entrepreneurial setup. You are an individual contributor, you are a freelance consultant. So that, I'm not saying it is something inferior, but managing people is, and people management skills as an entrepreneur are very important. And lastly, continuing on, you meet all sorts of people. It is very uh, your most demanding clients are your best teachers, because they help you, they force you to deliver your best work and not give excuses. So these are the three things that I would like to add here.
And just to
So
add, if I
yeah,
may,
yeah,
Priyanka, with
yeah,
your
sure,
permission,
sure,
I know
sure.
we are running short of time. I think it is critical to build a good support system, especially as
Yeah.
an entrepreneur. I've come to realize that having people who will lift you up when you have faced that rejection after putting in, blood and sweat into some deal, it does not go through, then what do you do? Right? You may have come with a decade of good experience, established yourself as a professional, but entrepreneurship, throws you into a situation where you're all in, right? And that is when the network that you have built, the relationships that you have with your uh, past colleagues, your mentors, it becomes extremely crucial. And that, I think, is what you continuously build towards. And as an entrepreneur, you tend to cherish that a lot more.
So we'll end this first segment with just a quick actionable advice, rapid fire. And because I'll reduce the number of questions given. So we'll just go Anshuman, Khushbu, Deepika. Anshuman, Khushbu, Deepika, right? Anshuman, the biggest red flag in an interview. First thought, no overthinking.
Uh, because with flag is basically if your CV is not well formatted, it shows that you are not serious.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a very fundamental point, but it goes all away if your CV is not proofread, well
Perfect.
formatted, or well presented. There are too many jargons, too many font sizes, too many beautified ways of presenting, but not a well-read or well-proofread document. So I think that's one thing which will definitely take me off, and then I might not able to look at the content was what is written over there, and then maybe I just skip the CV for the next candidate. So that's first.
Thanks. Khushbu, what's
Yeah.
one thing that you would tell a nervous first year student?
Enjoy the journey. You will land up where you are meant to be.
Deepika, would you hire attitude over grades?
Absolutely.
Anshuman, one thing that you wish you had learned in law school but you didn't.
How to survive in a month. Because no one, there's no crash course. No one tells you how to deal with different kind of scenarios. So um, maybe some sort of professional help, which maybe these institutions can coordinate with law firms, or maybe some professional lawyers. That there is a different journey altogether when you step out of law school, um, and maybe just to give you that kind of understanding that what needs to be done when you are in a certain condition. So those kind of soft skill based um, sessions, maybe conferences, I don't know
Survivor
what to
kit.
call it, but something like
Yeah.
101 for dummies sort of a thing to survive in a courtroom or in a practice, something of that sort. That will help definitely.
Khushbu, one thing that makes a candidate instantly memorable.
Uh, uh, a smiling face, a good dressing sense.
And Deepika, your younger self's biggest misconception.
I think it ties up with what I said earlier, that grades actually matter a lot. You know?
Great. So thank you for that. With this, we come to the end of the first segment, and we will just open the floor for Q&A. And Samiksha, over to you. And thank you to all the panelists for your generosity with your thoughts, your experiences. And yeah, Samiksha, over to you.
So first of all, thank you so much for a great discussion. I personally have learned so much from this. Being a first generation, being someone who's just been there in the field for 2 years, and also being someone who has not taken the, so-called traditional role wherein the students go towards litigation or law firms. So I have personally learned a lot, and I feel a lot more motivated because I am definitely happier than the security guard example that was given. So I think things are going good. Okay, so I have combined the questions because some were very similar. So I'll start with them one by one. First question is that how can an LLM graduate realistically compete for positions in law firm when most firms require prior experience, yet entry level candidates struggle to gain experience because firms are unwilling to hire them without it? So I think Anshuman, if you can answer this.
Um, sure, maybe, see, I don't think so. This is an issue per se, as long as the candidate is good enough, at least on CV. LLM is just an added advantage, and as this forum may have heard, in at least in India, unless and until you are interested in academic uh, profession, or maybe you want to become a professor in a long-term basis, it's only a matter of a degree, because the LLB courses, which we typically find in any 5-year law course, will suffice you with sufficient knowledge to practice, at least in India. So once, if you're clear, at least from the very first start, if you're clear that you want to go for a litigation or a law firm or similar sort of a practice, maybe after that you can, after your LLB program, you can just approach the right fit for you and then apply accordingly. I'm not sure if LLM is needed for that purposes, because I don't know, I may be wrong, but it's more suited for people who are looking for more experienced or want to do a doctorate in law, maybe that, but not from a law firm or a litigation or something similar practice.
Right. Okay. So the next question is for Miss Khushbu. So one student is saying that you mentioned that internships can convert into PPOs if one
Hmm.
manages to leave a mark. So in your experience, what it means to leave a mark, and how can an intern leave that impression, and which can help them to get that PPO?
Of course, the fundamentals are always the same. Be on time, and be respectful to your colleagues. Maintain the office decorum. At times, we have seen interns. They are more into making friendships with the other law school students than working, and the groups are formed, and then they are happy partying and things like that. So, and if you don't have work, go and ask your seniors for the work, because there is never dearth of work on the lawyer's table, be it an associate or a partner. They'll always give you something. So go and ask for the work, ask for feedback. When you are being given a feedback on the work you have done, uh, don't try to justify, just listen and absorb, because boss is always right. Remember that. And you are speaking to somebody who's 5 years experience or 8-year experience or 10-year experience. Don't justify and give reasoning, why you did that. Just listen and absorb. You will learn more from that than by justifying yourself. So this is, I've seen a big turn off with a lot of associates and the partners when the interns are uh, taking feedback negatively. And definitely stay in touch after your internship, and If you are good, there is a likelihood that you get a long-term internship also with the same organization. We see getting a job as a fresher beyond the law school placements is not very easy right now. Of course, there are avenues opening up, we discussed, but it is not very easy to find your first job. So see that amongst the 6 internships that you do, where you stand a chance to do a repeat internship, and instead of sitting at home idle and not doing anything after you have completed your law school, I'm sure there must be many who have not been able to find a job. Just take experience, work with a litigation lawyer, work with a chambers lawyer, do a free internship, but keep working.
Hmm. Okay, thank you. So the next question is a very generic question. It is out of the topic, but someone is asking that how do Indian firms view and approach international law students wanted to work in India? So if someone is not from India, then how would, the hiring process work? Any one of you can answer that if there is some if there is some difference in hiring perspective.
Uh, can you repeat the question, Samiksha? Just
Yeah, the question is that how do Indian firms view and approach international law students wanted to work in India?
I think, in my experience, I've seen corporate firms, those who are practicing the corporate law, they are open to have students with international law degrees to come and do internships. And yes, you can get a job only if you are bringing a business, because as per the Bar Council of India, you cannot practice in India with a foreign law LLB or LLB degree. You need to have an Indian degree for that. So you need to give an exam to be able to practice in India.
Right, right,
Just to add to that, I think policy space is something that
Yeah.
opens up more easily than practice areas. And even here, what I have seen with a couple of my past colleagues is they start applying for these exams, and it takes a good chunk of 2 to 3 years to complete that entire curriculum and give your final exams to get the Indian law degree, which allows them to practice. So they can enter the workspace in the policy area at least with their international law degree, but work their way into getting the Indian equivalent of it.
right.
And
Um,
international law students also, I think, as long as you're qualified, you also need to convert your degree to practice in law. If you're specifically looking for practicing in Indian laws, I think there is a qualification exam, QLTS, if I'm not wrong. You need to sit for it, qualify, and then only your degree is
right.
good enough
Hmm.
for practicing in India. So maybe that's one layer of qualification also that you need to qualify.
Okay, so many of them are asking questions about NLU versus non-NLU bias. One question also says that coming from a non-NLU background and from a small town, how could one even imagine to compete against the top tier firms? Is it more sensible to establish one's practice in their hometown instead? Or is it worth it to at least take a chance to apply in tier one or go to litigation and have the required skill set and knowledge?
I have to respond to that. Maybe yes, that issue is always there, and maybe uh, there's no one way of dealing with it. It's just a perception, and perception takes time to overcome. But you need to definitely make sure that you're confident for what you're looking for, at least in the profession. And just to give and quote an example, I'm also from a tier two city from Bhopal. And again, it's not one of those tiers uh, where everything is accessible. And then apart from that, I was also from first batch of NLU, which is 2009, 2014. Um, ended up being a partner in a tier one law firm again. I didn't think about when I was in a law firm that in a law school I'll be able to qualify and become a partner in a law firm also. So I think it's just a matter of time and luck. All of us as a human, what we can do is we can work towards our goals, and then time and as I said earlier, patience will definitely help you out in the long term.
Right. Okay. So the next question is that given that AI is creating and drafting documents, contracts, etc., with the same fineness as an A0 associate, so how do you suggest young graduates equip themselves to navigate the job market other than being good with prompts?
You, uh, See, again, I mentioned earlier, all of these are just tools. We need to know how good we are in accessing those tools and produce a better result. Because when you know how to use tools, when you know how to what to fix for, because again, there will be a basic draft which all of these AIs will generate, and you will not be in a position to send that draft across to the client or to the senior. Because let me give you a very fundamental rule for working in a law firm. Your client who's actually paying you is not your client. Your client is your senior. As long as your senior is okay with your work or is happy with your work, that's where you draw the line, and then that's how you perform well in any corporate culture. So what you need to produce from an AI is should be worthy enough to be shared with your client. And if your client is not happy, definitely that's a red flag for you in future. So once you get a basic draft, you need to make sure that all the elements of a typical contract, which is there, and every firm has a precedent, every firm has their specific format. So you will have the basic drafts, and then you have to make sure that all of your specific form-based inputs are there in the draft. So as long as you are doing that cross-check, you should be able to deliver well.
And if I may add to that, I
Yeah,
think
go ahead, Deepika.
AI is democratizing certain very base skill sets, right? Everyone has more or less access to the same categories of AI tools, at least when it comes to the free versions of it. So it is as good as you competing with your batchmate, right? It is not that it is elevating you to another level because your next door neighbor is using the very same thing. And we see that very regularly here with our interns who come in, and we all now know that they are using AI to give us the articles, to give us the first cut of drafts. But we can differentiate between those that have applied their mind and analyzed a few questions at least before sending it our way as their final product. So it is very easy for a keen eye, or at least anyone with a little bit of experience, to figure out what the acumen of the resources. So I don't think AI at a very base level is any differentiator, and we are not really looking at eliminating that junior level only because now there is AI embedded in law firms or in practices across board.
Yeah, and the other thing I would also say is that at the end of the day, that AI output needs to be verified, and it's going to be, and if we need that middle management, it's the juniors today who will be the middle managers tomorrow, and they need to go through this grunt of doing all of this. So obviously, it's not taking jobs away, and thus, the question, this hesitation does not need to be there.
Correct. So
Yeah,
I think
and
we also students need to be little cognizant of the fact that at the end of the day, I'm repeating myself again and again. It's a tool. It's not a replacement. Else we all are redundant. Like all of the lawyers who are practicing in India will become redundant in the next 2, 3, 4 years, maybe. So what you also have to accept that these are tools which will enhance your practice rather than your replacement. So that confidence need to be there.
yeah, and I would like to add here that I feel the current generation is at a somewhat disadvantage than we were, because we had seniors who had more time. They gave us time and told us our mistakes, that this is how you need to write, this is how you need to structure an argument, or structure your paragraphs. But today I increasingly see that that is not happening. And secondly, when I'm dealing with my juniors in office, yes, we use AI, we use different tools, but they cannot generate the same kind of output with AI, which some with who somebody, 10, 12, 15 years of experience will be able to do, who has not used AI when they were A zeros or freshers in any stream, because your prompts are very different. The questions that you're asking, the AI will give you the answer as per your prompt. And at times we have to tell our juniors that you change the prompt and then see the answer. So that, and therefore I will suggest all the fresh law graduates and people that use AI when you have exhausted your thinking capacity, you have applied your mind and you need it to improve the writing structure and things like that, to check the grammar, to improve the writing structure, or ask for any critical input. Don't start writing your email, don't start writing your opinion or article by putting a question to the AI. Then you will never be able to learn. And if you want to grow in your career, become a senior someday, then uh, don't use AI only 20%, and 80% should be your own efforts.
Right. Okay, so one last question for today is that do you think having a strong foot in soft skills and the willingness and passion to grow in fundamental skill is something recruiters value over practical experience, over practical exposure?
If I may take that, and with a very basic answer, I think it needs to be a mix of both. We can't have people who do not fare well on foundational knowledge, even if they are able to communicate excellently and have other skill sets that uh, maybe make them a better candidate. At the end of the day, we are looking for both, right? It needs to as in a candidate needs to have substance as well as soft skills, because that is the nature of this field. We have to be interacting with people, and that starts at the most junior levels in any institution. You will be traveling with your partners, you will be traveling here in the legal tech space. We take all our junior entry level case managers even to our BD meetings, because that is how they are able to assist us, right? So it needs to be a mix of both.
So, on behalf of Manupatra Academy, I would like to thank each one of you for taking out time and for discussing about actually everything about what law school doesn't teach us, and also about how do we choose a career path, what to do, what not to do, what are the non-traditional roles that students are doing, and that it is okay that they are choosing their career paths as per their own choice. And also, as Mr. Anshuman stated, that it is very important that we must also keep in mind the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals that a student should know, which is more important, and also a practical knowledge. So with this, we come towards the end of this session, and I have personally learned a lot from it. And once again, thank you so much on behalf of Manubhatra Academy. um, Over to you,
Yeah.
ma'am, if you want to add
Thank
something.
you so
I mean,
much.
thank you again, Anshuman, Deepika, and Kushbu, and everyone
Thank
who
you.
joined us. And yeah, have a great evening.